Hey you guys, what's going on? It is Livid. Hope you're all doing very well today. I'm just bringing you this week's vendor reset, and we will start off here inside the terminal as we normally do. This vendor is actually selling a decent Liberator again this week with Fierce, Deadly, and Responsive. I would recommend rolling off Fierce for Unforgiving, and this is a really good setup for PvP if you don't have any good PvP lightweight M4s just yet. Again, just keep in mind that the Liberator is not actually a lightweight M4, it's actually a police M4, so it has the same stats, however it has poor handling, so it is really hard to control the recoil on this, just keep that in mind. Our next stop is going to be over here at the Advanced Weaponry vendor inside the Base of Operations Security Wing. And this vendor is going to be selling an Omega Rifle Suppressor for us. It has 18.5 headshot, which is maxed out, 2% accuracy, and 3% crit chance. Ideally, we would have wanted 4% critical hit damage here, but this is still a really good setup, and it is for regular credits, so it is a very good option to be buying if you don't have any good Omegas just yet. And we are staying inside the security wing for this next one. We're heading over to the Dark Zone vendor, and they're selling a decent stamina mod on 264 with 3% skill haste. You can make these work for a variety of different builds, so if you're leaning for something with some more skill haste, this would be a good option to buy. Next, we are heading up to Camp Clinton. There is a weapon at this vendor that I would recommend. And just as a friendly reminder, sometimes the special blueprints vendor inside the terminal and Camp Clinton do have some good blueprints for sale, but I don't always include them because I have a separate video going over the blueprints. So if you're curious about that, just check the description of any of my vendor reset videos, and I will have that video linked in the description. But whenever there is a really good blueprint for sale, for example the lightweight M4 blueprint, I always do make sure to include that in the vendor reset because that one is a must-have blueprint. But since we are here in Camp Clinton, I did want to showcase this SRSA-1. It's a little bit more of a niche weapon choice, but it actually has some good stats, and the talents are really good. It has Prepared, Capable, and Cool-Headed. You can either keep this how it is, you can also change Capable over to something like Deadly, or Disciplined, or Balanced, and this works out really well with either Sentry, Hunter's Faith, or really any kind of sniper build that you have going. The SRSA-1 is a really good option if you don't have something like an M700 Carbon yet. Our next stop is going to be over here at Dante's Run Safe House. Alright, we've made it to Dante's Run. This vendor is selling our Damage to Elite mod this week. We actually have two electronic ones, but this one is a higher value at 194, and then we have 3% damage to elites. If you guys just watched my tactician build video, or if you'd like to watch that, I'll leave it linked in the description, or you can click the iCard above. These mods are an absolute must-have for your offensive skill damage builds, such as with a turret, sticky bomb, seeker mines, etc. Make sure you guys pick these up if you don't have 4% yet. The 194 isn't ideal. You would like to have something over 200, but these are absolutely better than nothing at all. I do promise that these mods are far more valuable than electronic mods with skill power if you are going more towards elite damage, so make sure you guys pick these up. They are extremely worth having, and you can use them on different builds, and it's not only limited to Tactician. You can also throw these on Commanding Determined builds with your, for example, for Striker's Battle Gear, or even for Lone Star. You can use these to unlock the Commanding talent on the top slot. I can never emphasize enough to buy any damage to elite mods that come through if you do not have them yet for that stat, and buy enough for multiple characters if you have multiple characters. Alright, our next stop is going to be down here at Kerman Station. Alright, the Kerman Station vendor does have a C79 scope for us here, with 19% critical hit damage, 5.5% headshot damage, and 2% accuracy. Again, we would be ideally wanting critical hit chance here, but this is still a really good choice if you don't have anything good for your critical hit damage scopes. You can use these on pretty much any of your builds, and they will provide a lot of value. And I'm actually just noticing this here, but we do have a purple LVOAC here with responsive and focused. You could probably make this work with something if you don't have any good LVOACs or any good lightweight M4s just yet. They're really not going to have too much of a damage difference between the ones in the higher bracket, so you're really just going to be missing out on a talent slot here. So if you're really desperate for an LVOAC, you could definitely make this work until you get something better. Next, we're heading over to the Cavern. Alright, made it to the Cavern. This vendor is going to be selling a firearms mod on 262 with almost 3200 health. Really good for PvP builds if you just want to throw these on for some overall toughness. Really good options to be purchasing, especially for regular credits. Alright, we are heading up to our first Dark Zone vendor, which is going to be East 61st Street. These actual next two attachments that I'm going to be covering, they are very similar, so this is more of just a pick your poison kind of a deal. And they are going to be for a hand stop. This one has 30.5 reload speed, 4% critical hit damage, and 2.5% stability. These are actually the rolls on a hand stop that you would want to go for. I would recommend putting these on your ARs for Striker specifically. So these are the actual rolls that you would want to go for, but you are missing a 0.5% of reload speed, so it's really just one of those things where if your brain wants to see the maximum numbers, this one's just half off on both reload speed and stability. Keep in mind though that stability at 3% is extremely rare. It's almost never actually seen, especially from a vendor. So just keep in mind that you may as well consider 2.5 max because 3% is that rare, but we are just 0.5% off of reload speed maximum. But these are the actual rolls that you would want, so I actually think this one is far more valuable than the next one, which we will go look at now on East 53rd Street. Alright, 53rd Street, like I said, is going to be another hand stop. It's actually 31% reload speed, 4% critical hit damage, and 2% accuracy. So we've swapped stability for accuracy, not the most ideal, but if you care more about maximum reload speed and critical hit damage, then you could definitely go for this. I still think that the other one is a little bit more valuable, but this is really just a pick your poison kind of a deal. They are the exact same amount of credits for Dark Zone credits. Our next stop is going to be one checkpoint down at East 46th Street. The 46th Street vendor is going to have a decent muzzle break for us with 13.5 stability, 6% headshot damage, and 2.5% critical hit chance. You would ideally use this for either Lone Star or for Sentry's Call, whenever you want to throw on some extra stability and accuracy onto your Urban MDR, which I think does need it, especially for Sentry. This is a really good option. And Dark Zone credits, it's really not that much. Weapon attachments are usually okay. They're passable over something like a weapon. So if you do have a decent amount of credits, you could definitely go for this. If not, you could always craft these. Our next stop is going to be 5th Avenue at the very bottom of the Dark Zone. This vendor is selling a 4% shield damage mod. We've actually had these for sale the last 2 weeks in a row now, I think, or maybe this is our 3rd week now. So they've been pretty common recently. But if you don't want to miss out on them, you could always buy these. These work out really well for Sentry if you're using a pistol. Our next stop is going to be West 39th Street. This vendor is selling another performance mod for us, and it's going to be a sticky bomb explosion radius. Always make sure to get these for your PvE builds. They slot into pretty much anything, especially things like Lone Star and Striker. The sticky bomb, the flashbang sticky is going to help keep enemies stationary, and having extra radius for that is always a good option. And our last stop is going to be Dark Zone West 46th Street. This vendor is selling a really good electronics mod. I was actually surprised when I saw this, but it's going to be 264 electronics and almost 3200 skill power. Definitely buy these for things like your Reclaimer, your Tactician support builds, Final Measure healer builds, anything like that. You could also use these for your Tactician builds, I guess, if you want to, if you're maybe going for something that's not all damage to elites. But I would still recommend using these for something more along the lines of Reclaimer or like your healer builds, and use damage to elite mods on your Tactician builds. But if you're looking for some extra mods to swap around on those builds where maybe there aren't that many elites available, you could definitely use these instead on your Tactician builds. There you guys have it. That's everything for the vendor reset that I would recommend this week. Hopefully there's some items you guys were picking up. Please make sure to buy those Damage to Elites electronics mods. That extra 15% damage to elites will add a lot of value to your overall build. But if there was nothing for you guys this week, there is always next week. I will talk to you guys in the next episode. Have a great rest of your day.
Can't believe the bullshit that went down in the Dark Zone at the end there.
I know. We had it. Everything I told them was dead on. They made us pull out anyway.
And we left our dead behind.
Yeah, we're not supposed to do that. Hang on a second.